Broadcasting live from downtown Canton, Ohio since 1925. WHBC AM Canton, a Digity property.
And criminal trial attorney and legal expert Brian Bouffard is on our WHBC Newsline. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
All right, so you've been looking at this case, and I guess this is... first of all, how do you think the grand jury arrived at this decision?
Well, I'm hopeful that they did what the law requires them to do, and that is pour over everything that they're presented with and apply the appropriate legal standard. And what everybody needs to remember here is that the legal standard is far, far below the standard that would be required in an actual trial, which would be beyond a reasonable doubt. The only thing that this grand jury was looking for is there probable cause? Is there basically some decent reason to believe that a crime was committed here? And when they've said no, that's essentially saying that, you know, this officer is more than just legally not guilty. This officer is innocent, that a crime just did not take place here.
Wow. And I think that's a very good point to bring out because, I mean, I was reading through some of the testimony, and he describes a young man who he felt just turned into something very, I don't know, almost demon-like, I think were the words that he used.
Yeah, I saw that too, and, you know, I'm sure everybody's adrenaline was running very, very high, you know, at that time, and it is a tragedy. You know, it's a tragedy that unfolds in a lot of places in our country daily. And, you know, to the extent that details a problem in our system, you know, I hope it gets addressed at some point. I think we all ought to work towards that. But in an individual case, you have to go by what the evidence, you know, leads you to and points you to. And in this case, it really does seem like when they looked at everything, they just decided, hey, you know, this was a clean shoot. And as sad as it is, there was no crime committed.
Well, and sad as it is, for that, it just says that the emotions are so high on this that's maybe this was the wrong case to choose for having this kind of stand on this because the evidence, at least in the minds of the grand jury, clearly wasn't there.
Yeah, there's a saying that, you know, a bad case makes bad law, and I don't think that we should draw any far-reaching legal conclusions from what happened here. I think that this case is about as representative of the normal grand jury process as the O.J. Simpson case was of the normal trial process, which is to say, you know, they don't look anything alike at all.
No, and talk about under the scrutiny. But now the feds are involved too, and there's still some possibilities that there may be some charges brought against him and or the police department, right? Well,
yes, there is a possibility, but I assess that possibility as being so close to zero that it might as well be zero. If the grand jury looking at potential murder charge finds that there was just no crime committed at all, it seems really, you know, impossible for me to believe that the feds are going to be able to find that Officer Wilson willfully deprived Michael Brown of his civil rights, with no willfulness involved here at all. You know, according to what the grand jury has just told us.
Well, what about they're investigating into the police department? There are groups like Amnesty International that were looking at making sure that claiming they mishandled the way the riots and went on earlier, and are watching them with a fine-tooth comb now.
Yeah, and I think, I think that's a lot more possible than anything specifically against Officer Wilson. My understanding is that there has been a very contentious relationship with this police department and its citizens for a long time. And so, you know, to the extent that needs to be investigated, I hope it will be. But do I think that anything's going to happen to this officer specifically out of that? No, I absolutely not.
All right, well, I know this is something we'll keep an eye on, and there possibly could be some type of lawsuit filed by the parents of Michael Brown. So we'll see how all of this goes. But we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pam. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.